start us off, it's my pleasure to welcome a speaker who's going to tell us about how an idea, a belief, passion and a goal to bring about change can turn into a mission and turn that mission into a reality. Would you please welcome the CEO and co-founder of Seabin, Pete Ceglinski.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the intro. Amazing to be here. And so I've got a 40-minute slot, which I've pumped 30 slides into. So there's a few to get through, but there is a bit of fun as well, and as much fun as you can have with plastic pollution, which is actually kind of fun. So, Seabin, we invented a rubbish bin in 2016. We put it in the water. It was the most obvious thing in the world that nobody had ever thought of. When we think of plastic pollution, we normally think of environmental, animals choking on plastics, and it's only until sort of slightly recently that we've realised that the problem of plastic pollution is inside all of us. So, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of news articles, microplastics in brains, hearts, arteries, placenta, babies, breast milk, everything. Plastics, we use it every day. We've built a whole world dependent on plastic, and unfortunately it's inside of us. But the problem that we're finding, the reports are finding, is that the chemicals are one problem for human health, but the particle size is another problem being compared to asbestos. So getting in the bloodstream, in your tissues, irritating, causing all sorts of problems. So that's probably the worst slide that I've got. No, this is the worst slide, sorry. So recent reports are saying some case studies that there's about 7 grams of plastics in brains that were doing, had autopsies, which is about the size of a regular plastic spoon on the left there. So this is a slide from the ocean cleanup, and it's the little red dots are the main rivers around the world. So 400 million tonnes of plastic is produced each year. Some people might know all this, but I'm just going to run through it for people that don't. About 88 million tonnes isn't collected and becomes litter. Only 36 million tonnes is recycled. 2 million tonnes enters our oceans. This is there's a few different numbers on this one, but it's substantial. 1.6 million tonnes is estimated to come from the 1,000 rivers, which is on the map there, which is absolutely scary. So Australia 2024, this is from the Plastic Overshoot Report. If anyone doesn't know this, jump onto Google, and it's absolutely amazing. So Australia 24, we produce 2 million tonnes of plastic consumer goods, or used, not just produced. About 130,000 tonnes ends up in the environment, and then from that, 30,000 tonnes ends up as microplastics in the environment as well. So everyone contributes, but this is it in numbers. So Plastic Overshoot Report, if anyone doesn't know. I'm no Morgan Freeman, but I'll narrate. So this is Sydney, that's our boat. That's one of our vans, boat again. This is a Seabin, and it sits in the water, filters 481 million litres of water a year, capturing all sorts of stuff. That's Tom, that's our science lab at the National Maritime Museum. These are some of the samples of what we're collecting. That's Talia with our cool microscope. This is microplastics under the microscope, and Carly putting the data in. That's a that's a nurdle. That's my sexy hands holding plastic, and that's a boat shooting off into the sunset. Told you I'm no Morgan Freeman, but I'll give it a go. That's Sydney. So we scaled into 53 countries in 2 years between 2018 and 2020. We sold thousands of Seabins, and we thought it was amazing until it wasn't. It wasn't a financially sustainable business model. We couldn't service the units, and there's a honeymoon period of when someone purchases a Seabin, they love it for 3 months, and then it becomes a burden, and because it needs cleaning. Anything you put in the water has growth on it, and then it stops. And so what we did was we stopped selling things, probably the craziest decision I'd ever made, and we started to sell marketing value, data, and impact. And 5.5 million people roughly live in Sydney, which means there's a lot of people in one place creating a lot of waste and services, waste management, this type of thing. And so we put the Seabins in the nooks and crannies of Sydney Harbour, ports, marinas, yacht clubs, and they're basically a garbage bin, sits in the water, and we employ people, our own staff, to come around, service it every day, and then run the data. We employ scientists, but we'll get into that in a minute. So since July 2020 is when we started this. We've filtered over 32 billion litres of water. We've captured over 22 million plastic items, of which 11 million were microplastics. So 50% of all the plastic pollution that we're capturing in Sydney Harbour is microplastics, which is scary. So this is just an example of some of the stuff that we capture daily. You can see all the favourite brands that we all love, straws, cutlery, all sorts of things. Some of the things in this photo have actually been banned in the recent years because of the plastic emissions. So this is a slide of microplastics in the hand on the left there, and science data days and analytics. So before, I took this picture at the fish markets, and then 29 minutes later, all of that had been captured, sucked up, put in a Seabin, and then that was the litter that I had actually spread out on the lawn at my house for 3 months, and then when I picked through it, this was the plastic items that had come out of that. This is just an overview of what we've built. So we started with a regular garbage can, well, not a regular one, but we put it in the water. So we capture the marine litter. We have water sensor capabilities in the new tech. It's connected to the cloud. We're building a dashboard at the moment. We have a custom software that we built to manage our data. We then publish open access reports, and we have our commercial services arm to look after the Seabin. So started with garbage bin and sort of built it out. Again, that's just a picture of our fleet, so I'll just skip that. If anyone had have asked me, say 6 or 8 years ago about data, I would have just sort of smirked and walked away because I never really understood the need or the importance of data. I come from a world where I like to kick things and touch things. But then when we started Seabin, we realised that if we want to play with the big boys, if we want to play with government, if we want to get grants, contracts, this type of thing, we have to prove what we're doing. We have to prove what the problem is. And so we realised that data is king. And so we have a lot of insights within our data set of what we're doing. And one of the craziest ones is that with every 1 millimetre increase in rain, the amount of microplastics captured in Sydney Harbour rises by roughly 27%. So that's for every millimetre. So we get the big rain, first flush, stormwater drains into the water, and then after a couple of days, the streets are clean, plastics off out to sea or pushed into another corner of the harbour. With the data, where are we going for time? We've got heaps of time. So with the data, we'll do Q&A if I run out of time, but 40 minutes is a lot to talk. So with our clients, we produce impact reports. We do it quarterly and we do it annually. We also do an annual impact report for the public, which showcases all our operations, data stats, and more. And we've built a client portal. So this company, this was Infrastructure New South Wales on the left. So they sign into our software, press a button, choose their dates, and then it populates this PDF that they can then copy-paste, put into their reporting or use on LinkedIn. Oris Watches on the right, this is an example of an annual impact report. So it's got their top 5 plastic items that they've supported for us to clean up, the amount of litres of water, it's got the community engagement, our social media reach. We just tried to make it as accessible and as pretty as possible, while without diluting the scientific side of things. And so people use these, put in their annual impact reports, use it for all sorts of stuff. When I started this, it was COVID, and so I live in Byron Bay in New South Wales, and we had to stay in the state, and so we decided, okay, we'll set up a city program in Sydney, and I went to the city and said, hey, we're about to install all these Seabins, and we would love for you guys to get involved. And they're like, well, you can't prove that it comes from us, and it's not our responsibility. And I was like, fuck. That wasn't the answer I was expecting. And so, bit of back and forth over a Zoom call, got a bit heated, walked away pretty angry, and then went down to the harbour. I was in Sydney, looked down, there's crap everywhere, plastics, all sorts of stuff, and there was this white bit of paper. And I was like, I wonder what that is. Lifted it up, turned it over, and it was a parking ticket. And on the parking ticket has got the City of Sydney's logo and their name. It had the time and the date of when it was issued. It had the geolocation, street name, everything, right? And their logo and their name on it. And I was like, holy shit, this is good. And I took a picture, put it on Teams. I was like, anyone sees this stuff, we have to keep it. And so we started to pin these parking tickets on Google Maps. And I think we have about 187, 190 parking tickets, that's a screenshot of it. And so we created a bit of a heat map because we wanted to understand where the plastic pollution was coming from. And so Surrey Hills, Darlinghurst, CBD, this was feeding the majority of the parking tickets into Darling Harbour. And with the parking tickets came ciggy butts and plastics and cups and all sorts of crap. It was literally, it's the stormwater drains, it's street litter, mismanaged waste, going into the stormwater drains, super highways into the harbour, and then we're capturing a portion of that, and the rest of it is going out to the ocean or wherever. But yeah, so what we also found was that only about 3% of the parking tickets that we captured came from up Parramatta River, which debunked the myth of, it comes from up the river and it comes into the harbour and it washes everywhere. So that's the parking ticket map that we have, which is absolutely amazing. We did get a few outlying parking tickets, one from Wollongong. We're not quite sure how that got there. Maybe they were angry, drove back to Sydney. I don't know. But yeah, so parking tickets gave us the accountability and governance, the data that we needed. And the funny thing is, we didn't get much response from the City of Sydney, but we also saw a press release where they phased out parking tickets because of the heat we were giving them on social media. And the other thing is that we heard that they're coming back in because people are pissed off. They're getting digital tickets and they don't know they've been in the same spot for X amount of time until they check their emails. So, yeah, over 2 years it went from 187 down to 0. So we'll see if it goes back up again. Another cool thing that happened was that in 2022, James Griffin was the Minister of Environment, and they introduced a single-use plastic ban, which included plastic bags. And so single-use plastic bags has never been a big item in what we capture, but it was, it was like a hero product for politicians and legislation to get their moment in the media. And so for us, we didn't mind, but what we started to see from when the bag ban kicked in over the first 12 months was a 70% reduction in the amount of plastic bags that we were collecting. And so using the data to help support monitor. Legislation and policies is another way that we use the data as well. We realised that plastic pollution is financial risk. So when you're going to ban something, that's a discontinued product / revenue stream. And so what we saw with the 71% reduction of plastic bags, just using Coles alone, they stopped selling their plastic bags. They were 15 cents each. 230 million plastic bags were being sold every year by Coles supermarket alone. I'm guessing similar for Woolworths. These are 15 cents each, so they've just lost $34.5 million every year from plastic bags being banned. Hell yeah. Which, unfortunately, I believe is the reason why we're paying $1.80 for passion fruit. You're going to miss $34.5 million every year. You've got to somehow bump up the rest of the aisles, right? So yeah, passion fruit, $1.80. I think it was $1.88 actually. My dad was complaining about it. So we also use the data for marketing, social media, trying to make a little bit light-hearted stuff. And so we've got the not-so-fun facts from a 6-month data study in 2023. So, what is the number one chocolate wrapper captured in Sydney Harbour? And anyone can just yell out and put your hand up or something. We got Mars Bar, someone over here, you. Milky Way. Turkish Delight. They're weird. They were kind of good when I was a kid, but they got a bit, yeah. Right, anyone from over here? Snickers. Snickers really satisfies. Anyone else? Up the back of the room. Kit Kat. Oh, who said that? Oh man, you just want a Kit Kat. Oops, missed a slide. 17% of the chocolate bar wrappers that we're collecting are Kit Kats. And some of the Kit Kat wrappers that we're collecting as well has got that paper recycled and all that. So what we found is that whilst Nestle, Kit Kat and all these other people are innovating with their packaging, making it less plastic, recycled, we're still capturing it because it is still litter. Unfortunately, the end consumer, their clients, the people that buy their products are also their biggest liabilities. If you don't put it in the bin, it's in the environment, it's got your name on it, it looks pretty bad. So there's a lot more financial risk attached to that. Oh shit, shouldn't have done that. Mars Bar. We had a couple of Mars Bars here on this table. And then number 3, Cadbury Dairy Milk, 1.5 glasses in every cup or whatever it is. But yeah, Kit Kat, Mars Bar and Dairy Milk, we collect a lot. So what is the brand, which brand of potato chips is the most commonly captured? Oh, Smith's. Really? Have you guys seen these slides before? Smith's. I don't know, let's see how we go on the next one. The top 3 flavours of all chip packets that we collect are... Who can go for number 1? Salt and vinegar. Damn. What about this side of the room? Plain. The vanilla side over here. We got spicy side over here. All right, so the number 1 is a blank slide. Cheese flavoured. All right, number 2 is, I think it's you guys. It's plain, the original. And then number 3 is the spicy side, salt and vinegar. So 33% of all the chip flavours are cheese, and then original, and then the salt and vinegar coming in at number 14. Sour cream and onions not up there, and that's my favourite. So, going back into the more serious side of things, predominantly we are in a linear economy because we have a lot of waste, which is why we exist and a lot of people in the room are here for. We are working towards the circular economy, as some of the amazing exhibits out here are, and a lot of other people around the world, but predominantly we're still linear, which, I mean, you know, accounts for pictures like this of waste piles in Bali and all sorts of stuff. So we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of opportunity, a lot of learnings, and a lot of impact that we can bring on as solutions. And so when I was thinking about this, I kind of just started to map out what is it that we need to do. Fortunately, there was also a lot of other people that have looked into it, and then I was trying to work out where the weaknesses are. And so raw materials is pretty awesome. There's a lot of people innovating, bringing in stuff, companies that are swapping out raw materials for recycled or bio or alternative. The design of things is getting better. There is a lot less waste. Plastic caps are getting smaller. Design in products is helping a lot. We're still not there yet, but it gets a green tick. Production, there is a lot of innovation in production, removing Sprite bottles, are removing those wrappers that go around it. They're going for clear bottles so that they're not having the green mixing with the other ones. So production gets a green tick. Distribution, I'm not so sure about, but they get a green tick because we know that carbon emissions and all sorts of other things are happening. The consumption, I'd like to think people are getting a bit smarter, consuming less single-use products. But then we get into disposal, and I put a little yellow circle around this, and then we get to recycling. So disposal. If we were better at disposal, Seabin wouldn't exist, we wouldn't have crap in the oceans, we wouldn't have such a big problem, right? And if we were better at recycling, or we had better facilities, better funding to keep up with the production that we have, the world would be a lot better place as well. But the weak chain in the link that I found was between disposal and recycling. If you cannot get a plastic product back to the recycling, it's going to end up in the environment, whether it's landfill or in the ocean. And so what we're seeing is the weak link, which in Australia, it's 130,000 tonnes of waste leakage every year, and that's something that needs to be accounted for. So, moving into more global stuff, the US, it's US 58 trillion is the amount of money that people are starting to put value on nature, which is 55% of the world's GDP reliant on nature. So you think that we would put more of an emphasis on nature because it is worth so much and we rely on it to do everything, including breathe. So if anyone doesn't know what TNFD is, this is the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures. TNFD, this is going to be absolutely huge. These guys were the TCFD. I always get this mixed up. Acronyms and dyslexia doesn't work. Task Force for Climate-Related Disclosures. So these guys pretty much built the climate market. And so the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, we've just, Tanya Plebiscite just announced a biodiversity market, nature market, which means that the same framework, governance of climate-related mandatory nature reporting, will happen for nature, which means that any negative impact on nature, any emissions from anything related to something that impacts nature will have to be disclosed and then accounted for, not now, but possibly in about 2030, mid something like that. So it took about 17 years for mandatory climate reporting to happen. I believe at half the time we'll probably see mandatory nature reporting. And so for us, what's relevant is plastic emissions, so microplastics, plastic wrappers, Kit Kats, Mars, all this type of stuff. And so an example of mandatory reporting that we think is going to happen is taking a Mars bar. And so on Mars, I mean, they're doing pretty well. They've got their recycle logo on it. They've made their wrapper kind of look paperish, but it's still kind of plasticky. But let's say that 10 million Mars bars are produced every year in Australia, but only 2 million of these wrappers are recycled, and this is something that will have to be reported on. This is what we're guessing, sorry. So you got 10 million produced, 2 million recycled, which means that 8 million items become mismanaged waste every year, which means it's leaked into the environment. And so this is something that we believe will be coming into play around 2030, 2031. To support the nature movement, we've started to see some really big investors investing in nature. So BlackRock, Goldman Sachs was a recent one. Plastic taxes are being introduced. So in Germany, 435 million euros a year is I've lost the word, but been attached to plastic pollution. So this goes into a central fund in Germany, which then gets parcelled out to non-profits, academia, research groups, and anyone else that is supporting and the remediation solutions to the environment. So plastic tax, I mean, what a no-brainer and how amazing. 435 million euros. We're starting to see countries adopting the rights of nature, giving the rivers rights. India did this, but they still have massive problems because they have a lot of other problems to deal with as well. We're starting to see new financial models being introduced, debt swaps for climate or nature. And the World Bank is getting involved as well, investing in natural capital, eradicating extreme poverty and shared prosperity. But so seeing these big players move in on the nature market is absolutely huge, and it gives me a lot of confidence in what we're doing and playing the long game as well. So we started with the garbage can, and what we've realised is that we need to make a profit, we need to make money. If we don't have money, we can't build garbage cans, we can't employ scientists, we can't be here, we can't do anything really. And so revenue was what we need. We do cleanup. Cleanup is only one half of the problem. I believe that you need cleanup and prevention happening at the same time. You can't just choose one or another. Turning off the tap whilst cleaning up. So we've got the cleanup, and then what have I got? Methodology. So we created our own science-based methodology of what we do. Because we're starting to work with Australian government, Fortune 500s, and they want to see science-backed methodology for the data we're producing so they can have confidence that in what they're reporting on, and they're not going to be pulled through the ashes for it, through the coals. We use the data for everything that we do, and then we heavily invest in education and prevention. We started a not-for-profit called Seabin Foundation. We were very creative with our names. Which is focused on science research, education, children, citizen science, this type of thing. And then from there, I gave you some examples of using the data to support legislation, which in turn promotes better practices. And then from better practices, being a little bit smarter or diligent about how we consume things, how we produce, waste management, that turns into the reductions that we all want to see as of yesterday. So this is basically our new business model, which is a far cry from just starting out with, hey, we're just going to clean shit up and the world will be a better place. This is, so we hit Sustainable Development Goals number 14, life below water, and then number 11, which is the sustainable cities. And so a lot of the corporate clients that we have, they have a list of SDGs. Most of the time they're missing 14, and so we can help them with that one. Recognised with our efforts in innovation by all sorts of news media, that type of stuff. And then this is a list of some of the clients that we have. And so we don't have, pretty much the only common thing we have at our clients is that they're absolutely amazing people, because we have bikini companies, we have banks, we have construction companies, we have ice cream companies, But the main thing that they all have in common is a respect for the environment and a desire to do something for the environment. Some of them have mandates that are built in from shareholding or company constitutions. Some of them want to attach purpose to purchasing. So if you buy a bikini, this helps save the ocean, this type of thing. And then other clients, they just want to get involved because it's awesome and they love it. And so these are just some of the clients that we've had over the years. This is an example of BMC software, of including our activities, our impact, and our data into end-of-year annual reporting. A lot of what we do is on social media, which also helps for the clients to get more reach, to sell more widgets, to get more exposure, this type of thing. And so a lot of the videos we create ourselves. We don't do any everything's organic. We don't spend ads. We don't boost things. And we've just got an amazing amount of reach through social media, which is where most of our clients and people inquiries come into. And that's me with 6 minutes and 16 seconds left to go. That's the website. We've got 5 minutes, so Q&A, or do you want to take that 5 and roll with it?
Well, first we should have a big round of applause for Pete Ceglinski. Thank you so much. They don't call him Sexy Hand Ceglinski for nothing. But we do have a couple of moments for questions, if you would like. And they don't have to be asked in Morgan Freeman voice. I can even do this. Oh, here you guys. Okay. Lost my job.
Thanks very much for your presentation. It was really great. Robert Powell from Southern Metropolitan Cemeteries Trust. Your Seabins obviously work in places like a harbour with moving water. We have several dams which are still water. Would your Seabins work in still water, fresh water?
Yes, they do. When we scaled across the world and into the 53 countries, we had Seabins in Lake Geneva in Switzerland. We had them in rivers. We had them in ports and harbours. And what we found was that unless it's a city with a lot of people, you don't have much plastic pollution unless it comes from somewhere else and gets pushed in. And so we found that lakes and rivers connected to cities were quite good because there was a lot of plastic pollution. The lakes, freshwater lakes, are great because it's not salt, so there's not a lot of growth. We connect the Seabins to floating infrastructure, so it goes up and down with the tide. If there's high flow, then we can't operate. And if there's high volumes, we can't operate because the Seabins are not designed for 1,000 kilos a day. We're doing 40 to 50 kilos a day. But yes, long story short, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, we have a lot of stormwater inflow, and we have things like plastic flowers and windblown litter and so on that gets into our dams. So that's what I'm thinking, that it might help clean them up.
Yep, absolutely. Possibility. We'll have a chat later if you'd like.
Yep.
Cool. Anyone else with a question? We've got a couple of minutes left, I think.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was amazing. I'm just wondering, you did mention citizen science, so I'm wondering how Seabin is involving citizens in your research or your cleanups or just even the scientific data that you collect and the insights. Yeah.
So we provide training to... We get a lot of people reaching out, how can we help? People from... corporate companies that are we have one day a month, that type of stuff. And all the citizen science happens in Sydney at our lab. We have a 40-foot container. And we do inductions, we do training, provide you with a kit, you learn the methodology, and then you sign up to a schedule that suits your schedule. And then we have people coming in for a couple of hours a day, Saturdays, that type of thing, and they're literally just helping out the scientists, sorting through the plastic pollution, categorising it, and then, so reach out through the QR code or the website, and then we can put you in touch from there to the Seabin Foundation, and they run that. And then with the data, we do a lot of collaborations with other non-profits, with research, academia, that type of thing. So,
is that a model that you could export? Say, I'm based out of Brisbane. Is that a model that you could actually sort of have happening in Brisbane, and then that data?
Correct.
Yeah.
Everything that we did in this new model is replicable, and so we can just land and expand. The only thing that we need is money to set it up and pay for things, and that's like the bit of a roadblock with some of the cities and councils, but working on that. But thank you.
I reckon you're off the hook. Can we have one more big round of applause, please, from Seabin, our co-founder and CEO, Pete Ceglinski. Thank you so much, mate.